The pathetic enemy has been sighted.
Hello everyone, Loremaster of Sotek here, and we are hopping right into it today with a new, with another,
I have mastered the
brain
most
fart.
complex of sorceries.
Having such a brain fart right now. Another mission, there we go. So, we are in Chapter 2 of the Greenskin Dark Elf campaign, and we are doing our first Dark Elf mission. So, this mission is actually one that I am keenly, is well in my memory, because this mission is just such a pain in the ass. We're just gonna hop right into it, so that I can worry about, talking.
We must be wary. Order the army to encircle the enemy encampment. It is imperative that we remain concealed until the attack is launched.
You heard what she said. So we're going to be running around with Kalith, Lilith, and Tulaketh, which it really seems like the developers of this particular game really struggled with Dark Elf names because they all just end in F. But, you know, maybe they just have a thing for that particular naming convention. So this is our first mission with the Dark Elves, so we've kind of got our first little starting army here. And our goal is basically to wipe out a High Elf camp without the High Elves managing to send out any riders, which will allow them to warn their fellows or allies of our coming. Because, of course, the High Elves do still have a substantial presence in the area due to the fact that there are so many, gosh darn, not because there's so many, but because the Great War Against Chaos just wrapped up. So the High Elves, of course, in this game actually ended up sending a much larger force after the Great War Against Chaos to basically help wrap things up against Thorgar the Bloody One, who is, of course, the main antagonist, or the protagonist of the Chaos campaign, if you want to look at it that way.
None can stand against the might of Nether.
we want to try and go to war with the High Elves without them being able to respond to us. So basically what I gotta do is I have to wipe out all of these patrolling groups while also leaving contingents with the Shades, or these Watchers, at the various camps.
Our bolts are sharp.
Because their job is for us to make sure that we get them fully surrounded.
The winds of magic coiling around me.
As I was saying, this mission is an absolute pain in the butt. Like, massive pain in the butt.
Your wish, my lord.
Death to the Asur!
So we're gonna go ahead and have our characters go to town on these archers and send in our knights and mess them up.
Great is my knowledge.
Good hit, good hit.
We must kill them all, lest they reveal us.
Long have I hungered for this day.
More sacrifices.
I'm actually gonna leave these spearmen out of it.
We go where our lord wills us.
Since I want the spearmen to not reveal our location.
Your wish, my lord.
Countless thousands have fallen beneath my blade.
Pew pew pew. Oops, wrong character.
I have mastered the most complex of sorceries.
I grow weary of this land.
We must move swiftly to destroy the threat.
Knowledge of all poisons is mine.
Run them down, boys. Run them down.
More sacrifices to Cain.
Alright, so that's a couple groups taken care of. Let's go ahead and leave behind. Let's leave behind a unit of crossbows.
Move swiftly.
And a unit of spearmen.
Your wish, my lord.
Because the crossbows are...
Our crossbows
wow,
are
they
ready.
didn't get any experience from those fights? Really? Okay, well, whatever.
Your wish.
They will get experience with all the shenanigans that are going to happen later. So we'll leave a really, really strong force here. And then we'll be able to leave a character with a unit at the remaining locations.
The secrets of the dark arts are mine.
We are moving, my lord.
Something I was actually thinking about when I was booting up this campaign that I think would kind of be a fun discussion is something that might surprise people is kind of the history to this game. As far as... okay, let's leave a unit of spearmen here. And with them, we will leave
My
Kalith.
poisons are ready.
I think Kalith is our highest level character. and he levels up very, very quickly. So, well, you know, I can always make him just run back, so I'm not too worried about right now.
Death to the Asur!
But
A curse upon this land!
something worth talking about that this game does that has an interesting history behind it, which is why I wanted to discuss it, is actually the history of the alliance between Greenskins and Dark Elves. Because as you may note, you know, this game did release this expansion, which this is the Battle March expansion, with the idea that the Greenskins and the Dark Elves are kind of the two races that are working together. Which is, I think many people would find a little unusual. You know, I think most people would expect, like, Dark Elves to come alongside, well, just, you know, Greenskins and Dark Elves are usually not the first two races that come to mind when you think of alliances, even among bad guys. But there's actually kind of an interesting amount of story behind it, because this is not the only time this happened. During 6th edition, which this does take place during 6th edition, because you can tell because of the really goofy-ass Cold One designs, there's actually another game that exploits the idea of Dark Elves and Greenskin allies, which is, of course, Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning. And the thing that's funny about both of them is the way they both explain how this alliance is possible is actually the exact same, in that both games have that the Dark Elves basically decide to make some kind of grand world-conquering scheme or what have you, and as a part of that, they end up going into the slave pens that they have in Nagaroth and finding a greenskin who will be a useful pawn, a useful tool. In the case of this game, they of course get the main character of the Greenskin campaign, while in the Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning, they get the faction leaders of the Greenskin faction. So, I kind of want to talk about, in particular, just the trope, because I find it a really, really fun trope, to an extent. In that, you know, it was kind of centralized in 6th edition, but it's just kind of a fun bit of storytelling. In this game, it's a lot more straightforward and not as explored, just because the game doesn't want to spend too much time on it, where it's very kind of simply explained from Lelea's perspective, as we saw in the last, I don't remember how many episodes ago, but in one of the older episodes.
Slaughter the wretches!
That
Yes?
the
Great
Dark Elves basically just found the war boss in one of their pens or what have you, and decided to utilize him in a battle.
We must destroy the patrol before it reveals our presence.
Which is, you know, fun. But this and that's literally all there is to it. Like, we don't know where he came, exactly where he came from. We know that Lilith apparently paid for him, because she does have that line where she mentions that the slave cost like a lot of money, essentially, which heavily implies, of course, that the slave is in fact, words are hard. Especially when you're clicking on a lot of things. Basically, the game is trying to explain how Lilith is the one who ultimately decided to acquire the Greenskin character, who, for the life of me, I can't remember his name right now. Grobash? Gro something? But the war boss is the only character they use, and it's heavily implied that he was released at some point into the lands east of the World's Edge Mountains. He was deliberately dropped off there, likely by Caliph and some other assassins. And from that point, he was let go and supported, at least from a distance, to ensure that he became the war boss of his tribe, which I think is the Bonebreakers. And after becoming the war boss of the Bonebreakers, they use those little lights to guide him and his lads into battles, which we've seen throughout the first chapter. But, you know, even that scene where we see Caliph literally talking directly with him kind of shows how much influence how much influence they've managed to get over him, which is pretty impressive when you really think about it.
Well,
I genuinely think it would be very easy for them to
none can stand against our
focus
charge.
instead on
moving,
something
stupid
else, I
creatures.
guess, or to focus on having like they didn't release like a whole bunch of greenskins or anything like that. They just have the one,
You
and the fact that
dare
they
to
can get him
bother
to just
me?
listen to an assassin is kind of impressive. You know, where he doesn't immediately just go wah and start smashing the Dark Elf's face in, or start yelling about how the Dark Elf can't tell him what to do. Like he does,
The
at least
stink
at
of
this point in the
humanity
storyline,
hangs over this land.
seems to be a relatively obedient slave. Granted, it seems to be because he associates the Dark Elves with just leading him to a bigger and better fight. Therefore, he's happy to put up with them.
You dare to
Because
bother
they lead him
me?
to all the big
A curse
fights,
upon this
which is, you know,
land!
an important thing for a greenskin. But what I would be very, very curious to see... oh, dang it, I only left one unit of spearmen there. Oh, that's right, I did that on
Thousands
purpose.
have fallen beneath my blade.
Okay, we're going to send you back,
Death moves swiftly.
because they're going to need a character to support them. No. Go this way.
Death moves swiftly.
Anyway,
Kneel before me.
so that's, you know, that's the story with this game, where, like I said, it doesn't go very far. You just have the one character who becomes a war boss. He's sympathetic to the Dark Elves as far as, like, he's willing to listen to them because he gets something he likes out of it. But he does not seem genuinely, like, mind-controlled or anything by them. He's just
yearn
a
for the
decent
kill.
pawn. At least right now. Whereas in Warhammer Online,
Bow down
Age of
before
Reckoning,
your
there's actually a
betters.
much more developed story. I think there's even like a series of comic books you can get about it, though getting them now is very, very difficult. I have one of them somewhere on my shelf. But they actually made a series of comic books about Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning that kind of explain how
have I
the
studied
war
the dark
taking
arts.
place in the game starts. And, you know, like showing what a lot of the characters are up to and like what
Countless
they're
thousands
trying to
have fallen
accomplish
beneath
and who
my
they're sympathetic
blade.
to, yada 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 yada. And during those, they actually explained the history of Grumlock and Gazbag,
Long have I
which
studied the
Grumlock
dark
and
arts.
Gazbag are the leaders of the Greenskins, which are wonderful names for Greenskins. I absolutely love those names, and B,
Great is my knowledge.
Grumlock is a
The
very,
secrets of the
very,
dark
very
arts are
large orc.
mine.
I don't know if they've ever specified if he is a
my own
black orc. I don't
destiny.
think he is. Well, no, actually, no, I do think he is. Because that would make sense based on how they decided to go with like the classes and stuff. But he's an incredibly large orc, who, for his part, is noted to be fairly dumb. Like he's kind of just a big brute. And kind of the brains of the operation is Gazbag. And Gazbag is this creepy little shaman who sits on his shoulder kind of like a parrot.
None can stand against our
And
charge.
the history behind them
We are
is
the
that
noble sons of Naggaroth.
Gazbag is actually the two of them were both slaves to the Dark Elves. So they were both
An enemy
characters
patrol is
that
aware
were
of our
kept
position. Kill
in
them
some
quickly.
prison somewhere, and ultimately they when Malekith learned about what was going on with Takarzanek, who is the big bad of the Tzeentchian Chaos Forces, where Takarzanek has grown powerful enough that he's ready to lead an invasion of the Empire, and he's gotten a lot of powerful forces together, and is going to do his best to become like a big bad champion of chaos. One of the big things that kind of happens is that he actually gets noticed by Malekith, who sees potential in him. Like sees someone, hey, that's someone I can manipulate and use to further my own objectives and yada yada. So Malekith, contrary to I think maybe popular belief, because when you look at Warhammer
I
Online
do
nowadays,
Cain's bloody
you see Malekith as
silent
the
as death itself.
like a side character, whereas Takarzanek is the big bad, right? Like he's the leader of the faction of destruction. which I think
None
for
can
some
stand
people
against the
could
might of
fairly
Netherrealm.
to them imply that he is the main villain. And like the force that drew them together, which is actually not true. Takarzanek is actually a character that I don't think would have been able to pull either of them into an alliance, because he was noticed by Malekith, and granted, he probably used schemes to try and get Malekith's attention as a potential ally, but Malekith is the one who actually formed the alliance, and that Malekith got the Greenskins on board, because normally the Greenskins are much more of a neutral force, but Malekith was able to convince them to join by forcefully implanting their faction leader. Instead of using, you know, more famous or well-known characters like Scarsnake or Grimgor Ironhide, you have these unique original characters who are a shaman and a orc war boss combined, or a goblin great shaman. So Malekith busts the two of them out from the slave pens, and I think he gives them a set of amulets. It's either like amulets or rings or something, but I think they're amulets. So he gives an amulet to Gazbag and an amulet to Grumlock, and it makes them both like obscenely powerful. Like Grumlock swells in size to where he's like a really big lad, and he is obscenely strong and powerful in his own right. He's like one of the mightiest and tankiest orcs in existence because of this power booster that Malekith gave him, and Gazbag's magical power goes through the roof despite his diminutive size, to the extent that when they attack Carrick 8 Peaks, there's basically... Okay, we've encircled them. There's basically a really famous scene where
Your wish, my lord. New information has been gleaned.
there's this really famous scene where the Greenskins have Carrick 8 Peaks as kind of their capital.
The enemy has become aware of the attack.
Which,
They may seek to alert other high elf
you know,
forces
having
nearby.
Knowledge of our presence in this land must remain concealed, else all is lost. Kill
Okay, yeah.
any rider that seeks to break out.
Okay, so I need to make sure I get these riders killed before I do anything else,
Move swiftly.
because they will genuinely send out riders who are problem
A
causers.
pathetic enemy has been sighted.
But so I'm gonna make sure that I snipe
Secrets
all of
the
them
dark arts
before
are
they get away.
mine. The stink of humanity hangs over this land. I go where I please.
But anyway, as I was saying, so Malekith unleashes these two into the Badlands to basically take over the Greenskin tribes and to get their attention.
I shall make this
And
land
they
clear
succeed
of our
quite well at
hated
this
king.
because they are mighty and powerful and large, and being large is very important in Greenskin
A
diplomacy.
rider. He cannot be allowed to escape.
Death to the Asur!
Okay, there's the rider. We're gonna have her focus him with
Pathetic
magic.
fools, taste my power! Let no one dare stand
to
in my
Cain.
path. Die,
Enemy
fools!
dares to strike against you.
I'm just keeping an eye out for riders right now.
Secrets of the dark arts are mine.
Model up. Nice. Lower that cooldown.
Fool, that cannot be done.
But so Grumlock and Gazbag are unleashed, and they start building up the tribes because they're really big and powerful, and they start winning a lot of fights.
Wipe this land
ahead
clear
and
of
pop
our
this.
hated king. Pathetic fools, taste my power!
I'll pull back so you can heal. Just keeping an eye out for any more riders.
None can stand against our charge. None
Pull
can
back,
stand
pull back,
against
pull back.
our charge.
Let Lilith deal with these jerks.
None can stand against our charge.
Okay, now charge back in.
I feel the winds of magic
sacrifices
coiling
to Cain.
around me.
Excellent.
Use our speed.
Go heal up.
That is what I desire.
Second messenger has been
Enemy
sent.
has been sighted.
But so you have this big orc and goblin that take over a whole bunch of places, and as they take over, oh, I got another dark card back. Nice. As they start taking over a lot of locations,
Your orders, Highborn?
they
Shall darken the sky.
no, wait, y'all are in a good shield wall formation. Just let them charge.
Your wish.
A messenger seeks to break out. We must hunt him down.
Move as one, Druchii. Let none of them live.
But as they are running around, proving their superiority, messing people up, being general bad time, yada 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 yada.
More sacrifices.
They do an excellent job of gathering all the various greenskin forces, which eventually leads to them.
Advance as one. If
Run,
such is
run,
your
run,
will,
run, run! Get out of tower range! Get out of tower range! Oh, it
Keep
hurts.
it together.
Oh, it hurts. Here we go.
Your orders, Highborn?
Oh god, towers in this game are mean. So this, as I said, this culminates in them taking over the tribes, and they lead. Their big moment is when they attack Carrick 8 Peaks, because at this point in the storyline, Carrick 8 Peaks was, of course, contested at least by the dwarves. And Belegar Ironhammer being there, but Belegar was not a super big character at this point during Warhammer Fantasy. You know, a lot of people who I think read Gotrek and Felix, the very first book, Troll Slayer, will be kind of shocked by how different Belegar is. You know, Belegar is a character who, at 6th edition, was basically a very, very old, past his prime dwarf lord that is kind of defeatist almost. Like he has a borderline negative relationship with how he like views his kingdom and all this stuff. And he's almost a depressing character, I would
hunger
say.
for bloodshed.
And eventually, so when Grumlock and Gazbag arrived, the writers didn't really view it as a big deal to essentially kind of. I don't think they kill Belegar,
This land
but
High elves
you know
cannot be allowed to know of our presence in this land.
he completely
Kill the messenger.
loses control of
I dread
Carrick 8 Peaks.
softly.
And it leads to this really famous
Well,
moment where Grumlock and Gazbag lead like a really big army to Carrick 8
Your
Peaks.
death is upon
And
you.
it's this terrifying moment where Gazbag
Blade is ready.
attacks the
Your death is upon you.
Gazbag attacks Carrick 8 Peaks by essentially blowing a massive hole with a spell through one of like the thickest walls surrounding Carrick 8 Peaks.
Something for me.
So just utterly obliterates its defenses, like shockingly so. And this causes him to basically, this just immediately leads to the downfall of Carrick 8 Peaks. The dwarves are functionally slaughtered, and Grumlock and Gazbag take over
Death
with
to the Asur!
very minor exception. But I think there's a comic panel for it, or it might just be that it appears in a storyline. But I do remember that being just a crazy moment of when we finally get this scene of just there being a giant hole blasted with a single spell from a single goblin shaman, which is just horrifying.
Guide my blade.
And a power level
Lord of
not
murder.
associated with them, especially because, you know, it's a dwarf wall. It's super thick. It's made of like the highest level of craftsmanship. It was even covered in like runic script, but because of like the power booster that Malekith gave Gazbag, and he harnessed all that Wa energy from
I
just
wish to
the
see the blood
obscene
flow
amount of
once more.
greenskins that were part of him and Grumlock's
Countless
force,
thousands of fallen
being the Bloody
beneath
Sun
my
Boys, they
I
were able
wear
to
the
just
shadow
like
like a
hilariously
cloak.
curb stomp the defenses of
Knowledge
Carrick 8
Rider,
Peaks,
he cannot be allowed to
which I
escape.
just find to be a really interesting
Highborn?
story.
My poisons are ready.
Okay, waiting for them to get
Citizens
far enough from the
established.
walls.
As
Charge!
silent as death itself.
Dares to strike against you.
And snipe.
You have succeeded.
Great shall be
The
the
Witch King will
bloodletting.
allow you to live another
Okay,
day.
there are no messengers. So now what I'm going to do is you may think to yourself, he'll attack from all directions at once. To which I
Something
say,
for me?
haha, no, that's stupid. I'm going to attack from one direction. It's probably going to be this one, because
I desire more slaves.
I have a lot of characters here,
Thou
and
sacrifices
better.
to Cain.
there's only one tower
The
instead of
stink of
2.
humanity hangs over this land.
So we're gonna tell all of our troops to hoof it
Revenge shall be ours.
back to that one tower.
I yearn for the kill. My path is set. My blade work is beyond compare.
Break the
Such
shield
is
wall,
your
let's
will.
go.
Yes, Highborn? Move as one, or feel the lash! The pathetic enemy has been sighted.
Alright, so everybody's gonna start moving to line up with our main force, and then we will slaughter our way through the rest of the camp. Yeah, this mission has just so many stupid components that just take forever. Like, it's such a long mission just because you have to be in all the parts of the maps. Because if a single one of those riders
Countless
escapes,
thousands have
you
fallen
instantly
beneath my
lose. So you have to start all
Your
the
wish.
way over, and it is not a good time.
Our hatred drives us onwards.
I know this because it sits in my memory and mocks me.
Our
Just the
bolts are
existence
sharp.
of it. Well, we got a little bit of experience on one of our crossbow units. But at least our knights
None
are
can
doing
stand against
They're all
our
almost full level.
charge.
Hatred drives me on.
Alright, so all of our characters are moving to meet up again, which is cool. I mean, this one only has one tower as well.
None can match
So
us.
I could attack from 2 directions at once. Yeah, I'm okay with that, actually.
We go
That way
where
these
our
guys
Lord
won't be
wills us.
exhausted by the time they get there. And we can have it where because we can capture these towers. So we can capture both of these towers simultaneously, which will give us like a really nice staging point.
I feel the winds of magic coiling around me.
Alright, and all of our
My
characters are meeting
actions
up.
will be veiled.
Is great. And we can send Caliph in maybe a little bit ahead because he'll be able to stealth. So he can help. Actually, we'll probably put him in a unit and stealth that unit to capture this tower. That'll probably make life a little easier. Because if I can capture the towers, then this will be like a slam dunk, no problem. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy.
Orders, noble lord?
So yeah, why don't you go
I
ahead
wish to see the blood flow once
and join
more.
up with them. Good.
Knowledge of all poisons is mine.
We're gonna move y'all up towards the front.
Death to the Asur!
They're getting
I
here.
guide my own destiny.
No finer shot will you find.
I think we can get a little bit closer without triggering the tower. There we go, perfect.
Our bolts are sharp.
We want y'all to be regular
The
bolts.
enemy has been sighted.
That's...
Long has been my training.
Oh wait, there are 2 towers here.
The darkness shields
Oh,
me.
well. Oh, there are 2 towers here too. Oh crap, they all have 2 towers. Okay, well in that case...
Your
Yeah.
orders, noble lord.
Well, no, this is still fine. This is still fine. It's fine.
I feel
This
the
is fine.
winds of magic
It's
coiling
fine.
around me.
Okay, I'm not worried that much about... How many casualties have we
Death
taken?
is the only certainty.
Oh, man, I'm like super torn on this. You know what? No.
None can match us.
Let's just play it safe. Let's play it safe. We're just gonna have them run. It's fine. I'm not in a rush. But yeah.
It is our
Hopefully y'all
birthright.
found that kind of an interesting history lesson as far as like the relationship between Dark Elves and Greenskins. You know, where you've got like they are used to supplanting tribes and trying to like take over greenskin tribes or manipulate them by releasing war bosses, which actually for me personally
Feel the
makes
winds of magic
Total War
coiling
Warhammer
around
such
me.
kind of like a fun trope reversal.
Bow down before your
Um,
betters. The
in
stink
that
of humanity hangs over
for
this land.
oh no
I
no no
wear the shadow like a cloak.
for Total War Warhammer,
Great
they
is my
actually,
knowledge.
like I said, they actually flipped it.
I shall
Where
wipe
if you're
this land
playing
clear
the
of our
Sisters of
hated
Twilight
kin.
campaign, you can
Forward,
get
elves of
Sporticus
Megara!
and kind of unleash Sporticus on the Dark Elves. Sporticus being a Dark Elf slave that escapes
Highborn?
I
and
do
proceeds
Cain's
to
bloody work.
unleash havoc on the
Direct us as you will.
Dark Elves, which I find to be
swiftly.
just a really fun storyline.
Great is my knowledge.
Okay, you're gonna join the crossbows because you augment
What
them
would
very
you will
nicely.
us do, my lord? We
Okay.
seek better position.
And Tulaketh is going to join the
Make
spearmen.
way for your betters.
We're gonna run him over that way. All of our characters are inside units, which is just swell. Got 17 left. Okay, and that's exactly how much this unit needs to get to full health. So
Our
that
spears
works
are
out.
ready.
Cool.
None can stand against the might of Nagaroth.
I'd love to know what y'all think of that trope, though. Just kind of says something to, like,
For the glory of
almost
Nagaroth.
discuss. Maybe that's something I'll bring up in this week's podcast, now that I think about it, which
Our
you'll be able
crossbows
to...
are ready.
You'll be able to date when this episode comes out based on me saying that. But something I should
I'm
think about
waiting.
is like maybe we can talk about that, me and Nathan, about that trope and our thoughts about it, and like how it may be, like if it was done well or if it's interesting. Personally, I find it to be a really interesting trope, and I find it to be, more importantly, an acceptable explanation for how you get greenskins and Dark Elves working together, which is something that I think many people would argue is not canon, or not easy to do in a canonical situation. You know, I know I've seen people ask me, like, how do you get alliances between these different destruction armies when they're so, you know, they're kind of people that seem like they're ready to just smash and bash whoever they come across. Like, how would they ever be willing to work with another force? So
Yes.
I think that actually kind of works as an
Will not
explanation.
falter.
All right, we are ready.
Bow before me!
Abominable beast, move!
Get everyone into position. And what we're going to do is I'm going to have Calith go invisible to approach this tower and capture it. And then we will have our other spearman unit try and also rush to capture
My
it.
poisons
that
are
one.
ready.
Without further ado,
Guide my blade, Lord of Murder.
The
Forward!
pathetic enemy has been sighted.
and run.
Long has been my training.
We shall reclaim Ulthuan.
Our crossbows are ready.
Hurry!
The enemy dares to
None can stand against our charge.
Okay, now that other people are being shot, we can move the expensive guys forward. Nope, somebody died.
An order?
Alright. And we should be able to capture these. Yes, there's the capture bars. We're just gonna have to, like,
The
endure.
pathetic enemy has been sighted.
Your towers belong to us.
Yes.
No. Into the back. Into the back.
Moving, stupid creatures.
Fire!
Death to the Asur!
Fire!
We shall reclaim
Weaker unit, charge.
I am of the noble houses of Nagaroth.
Your grip
there.
upon these lands tightens.
Okay, I think we own both of these now.
More sacrifices
Yes.
to
Okay.
Cain.
Excellent. Towers are ours. There's an Archmage here.
Death is the only
So
certainty.
what I'm gonna do is I'm
They
gonna
shall
no.
be a sacrifice to the
I'm gonna have
bloody-handed
Caleb
god.
kill
It is our
the
birthright.
elf. These plans, German. Okay, none of these are ranged units. It looks like, so we should be safe to advance inside. All
Forward, noble knights.
Your grip upon these lands tightens.
right, so I control these towers. Excellent. They're Dark Elf towers now. We're gonna scoot our butts on in.
Direct us as you will.
And we're gonna have our
that is what you really
archers
want.
mow down these tents, because often the tents will have
down
gear
before your
inside of
betters.
them. They're annoyingly difficult to kill. But they may have nothing, but it's always better to double check.
None can match us.
Oh, there's some on this
No
side too.
finer shot will you find.
Long have I studied the dark arts.
No, not that one. This
I
one.
shall tear it asunder!
No finer shot will you find.
Yeah, so we're just gonna kind of work our way through all these tents as we approach the High Elves.
Death to the Asur! I shall tear it
Pathetic enemy
asunder!
has been sighted.
The moment he actually like attacks us, we'll fight back. But for right
Kneel
now,
before me!
we're just gonna keep kind of doing this.
Our crossbows are ready.
There gonna be no items? That would be such a bummer.
I have mastered the most complex of sorceries.
What would you will us do, my lord?
You got pretty good range, to be honest.
Your wish. If that is what you really want.
White lions, very, very tame.
No finer
Really
shot
speaking.
will you find.
Nothing. Alright, so we're going to have our assassin kill the Archmage. And everyone else is just going to smash their army. They don't have any ranged troops? Oh, no, they do have some ranged troops. Okay.
None can stand against our charge.
I want to bring our Chaos, or our Kobold Knights over this way, because they're going to go after the archers. Actually, no, they're probably not. I'm probably going to use my crossbowman on the archers, to be frank. But, like, you know, always good to
My
have.
blade work is beyond compare.
Alright, let's go ahead
I am of the
and
noble houses of Nagaroth.
we're going to... What? Oh, God, tower. Run away.
I grow weary of this land.
Safe. Okay.
It will
What
be
did this do?
as you will it.
Movement speed is slowed, but their defense is higher against frontal attack. That's perfect, especially because we're about to fight a lot of guys with like great weapons and stuff.
Guide my blade.
Caliph, why don't you
Lord
go
of
ahead and lead the
murder.
unit? Whoop, that got their attention.
The enemy has been sighted.
Slaughter the wretches!
Slaughter them!
There, that waystone. My power wanes in its presence. Clear of our hated kin.
Get him.
An order?
That.
Your orders, noble lord.
I shall wipe this land clear of our hated kin. Die, fools!
Alright, we got a duel there.
I guide my own destiny.
Great armor.
Drives me on.
I am of the noble houses of Nagaroth. Nothing shall slow me.
Alright, we've got armor buffs.
More sacrifices to
The
take.
most complex of
Keep
sorceries.
stabbing.
Crush them!
Destroy their camp.
Tear them apart, stone by
Enemy
stone.
has been sighted. Your wish, my lord.
Ah,
Yes, Highborn?
ah.
If such is
Hold
your
the
will.
ranks together!
Capture the towers.
Worthy sacrifice to Cain. More
It will be so.
sacrifices to Cain.
Long have I studied.
Oh,
This
there we go.
waystone was raised to weaken the winds of magic, to push the power of chaos back to the north. It is this that hides the presence of the witch Aurelion from my eyes. Doubtless our hated kin have erected more of these totems. We must seek them out and destroy them all.
The enemy dares to strike
Yay!
against you.
I shall wipe this land clear of our hated kin.
We shall tear it apart, stone by stone.
Cain be praised.
Alright, whatever, we got through it. Man, our assassin almost died. That would have sucked, because we would have lost the mission. I hate that mission. Genuinely hate it. Ugh, gosh. Missions that are like super long-winded like that, and it's just like you can just take obscene amounts of damage, and it's just not a good time. It's just not a good time. It's just you know, there's 8 towers all easily, or like all super close together, and you have to do all these stupid, jump through all these stupid hoops that force you to split your army up. That's okay. Let's go ahead and keep going for just a minute. Actually, you know what? No, we'll go ahead and call it here. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next episode. Bye, guys.